In the summer of 1971, a disciplined, wealthy young student arrived at Oxford University to study English. He was a fan of the Arsenal Football Club, kept his head down in class, and spent his free time with a Spanish girlfriend. His name was Osama bin Laden. He grew up far removed from poverty or desperation. His father, a Yemeni immigrant, had built a construction empire in Saudi Arabia worth $5 billion. By securing lucrative infrastructure contracts, the family forged deep ties with the Saudi royal family, leaving Osama with a personal inheritance of nearly $30 million. How does an Oxford-educated billionaire heir, living comfortably in the West, abandon his life to become the world's most notorious militant? His inheritance functioned as venture capital for his radicalization. The extreme wealth and status he enjoyed provided the specific logistics and international reach required to turn ideological grooming into a global operation. The grooming began in his youth. As a teenager, bin Laden joined the Muslim Brotherhood, an ultra-conservative Islamic organization. Later, while studying civil engineering at King Abdulaziz University, he spent his time with radical professors who used the school as a hub for hardline ideological thought. One professor in particular, Abdallah Yusuf Azam, recognized bin Laden's financial reach and social status, treating the young student as a high-value asset for his movement. Bin Laden, in turn, spent years studying Azam's recorded lectures and writings until he viewed violent struggle as a non-negotiable religious requirement. In 1979, two events gave bin Laden a real-world battlefield. First, armed extremists seized the Grand Mosque in Mecca. Then, in December, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. The Soviet invasion aligned with his university studies. He finally had a war zone where he could transform his theoretical extremism into a fully funded military operation. Bin Laden relocated to Pakistan and immediately mobilized his personal wealth to back the Afghan resistance. Utilizing his family's construction expertise, he funneled roughly $50 million a year into the region to move men, weapons, and supplies across the border. He had powerful backing. The CIA, alongside Pakistan's intelligence agency, the ISI, and the Saudi government poured cash and high-tech weaponry into the hands of these mujahideen fighters. They shared a single goal: defeating the Soviet Empire. Bin Laden soon transitioned from financing the war to fighting on the front lines. In 1987, at the Battle of Jaji, he led a small force of Arab fighters directly against a Soviet contingent. Reports of him firing rocket launchers at Soviet helicopters spread rapidly, establishing his reputation as a warrior across the Arab world. The United States and its allies utilized religious fervor to win a proxy war. By pumping money and arms into Afghanistan, they helped train and equip a highly organized militant network. As the Soviets retreated, a dispute erupted over the future of their army. Azam wanted to use the fighters for local defense. Bin Laden rejected this, insisting they use their resources to export terror and enforce strict Islamic law in other nations. Bin Laden's move toward global terror was influenced by Ayman al-Zawahiri, an Egyptian extremist. Together, they formed the organization al-Qaeda in 1988. A year later, Azam was assassinated in a car bombing, an act many suspect bin Laden orchestrated to eliminate his rival. In 1990, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, moving the Iraqi army to the Saudi Arabian border. Bin Laden approached the Saudi royal family with a proposal. He would deploy his seasoned army of mujahideen to defend the kingdom. The Saudi king rejected the offer. He bypassed bin Laden's militia and instead asked the United States for help, allowing hundreds of thousands of American soldiers to set foot on Saudi soil. For bin Laden, the presence of foreign troops in the land containing the holy cities of Mecca and Medina was an insult. The royal family's decision fractured his loyalty, shifting his target from the Soviets to the United States. Stripped of his Saudi citizenship, bin Laden fled to Sudan. There, he ran civil construction companies while quietly funding terrorist training camps. By 1996, international pressure forced him back to Afghanistan, where the Taliban granted him full operational freedom. With a secure base, he issued formal declarations of war against Americans. In August 1998, al-Qaeda executed simultaneous bombings at the U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania, killing hundreds of people and proving their capacity to strike globally. The attacks grew bolder. In October 2000, al-Qaeda operatives drove a boat packed with explosives into the side of the hull of the USS Cole while it was docked in Yemen, killing 17 American sailors. These strikes were calculated provocations. Bin Laden intended to draw the United States into a protracted, exhausting war on foreign soil, a goal that led directly to the coordinated attacks of September 11th. Following 9/11, the United States retaliated. Launching the global war on terror, American aircraft executed a bombing campaign targeting bin Laden in the Tora Bora Mountains of eastern Afghanistan. Despite the bombardment, bin Laden used his knowledge of the cave systems to escape. This triggered a decade-long search that cost billions of dollars and involved global intelligence efforts. In April 2011, American intelligence tracked their target. They located bin Laden living in a secret compound tucked inside a residential neighborhood in Abbottabad, Pakistan. On May 1st, acting on orders from President Barack Obama, a team of U.S. Navy SEALs executed Operation Neptune Spear. They breached the compound under the cover of darkness. Within 40 minutes, bin Laden was dead. The man who repurposed superpower resources to build a global terror network was finally eliminated. However, the decentralized groups and regional instability he fostered remain the primary drivers of conflict in the Middle East today.